The Velvet Veil. A long time ago, in the mountains, there was a small village called Eldergrove. The people in the village were poor, but happy. They worked hard and told stories about monsters and curses. One of these stories was about Blackthorn Manor, a big, dark castle on the mountain. People said a rich, strange man lived there, Count Lucian von Ashenwood. They also said he was a vampire, but nobody dared to check. In the village lived a girl named Anya. She was young, kind, and curious. She loved her family and dreamed of a bigger world outside the village. But she never thought she would meet the mysterious Count. One stormy night, that changed. The rain was heavy, and the wind was wild. Anya went into the forest to find herbs for her sick mother. She thought she had time before the storm came, but she was wrong. The forest became dark and scary. She was cold, wet, and lost. Then, in the distance, she saw a light. She followed it, hoping for help. Soon she stood in front of Blackthorn Manor. Its big gates were open, and the golden light came from its windows. Anya was afraid, but the storm was too strong. She walked to the door and knocked. The door opened, and a tall man stood there. He was pale, with black hair and silver eyes. He wore a long velvet coat and looked like someone from an old story. "You are lost," he said in a calm voice. I need help," Anya said, shivering. "The storm—" "Come inside," he said, stepping back. The inside of the manor was beautiful. The fire in the big fireplace made the room warm. Chandeliers sparkled, and the walls were full of books and paintings. Anya felt small in her wet, simple clothes. "Sit by the fire," the man said. "You are safe here." Anya sat, still nervous. "Thank you, sir," she said. "I am Lucian," he said. "And who are you?" "Anya," she replied. He nodded and gave her a goblet. The liquid inside was dark red. "Drink this," he said. "It will warm you." "What is it?" she asked. "Wine," he said with a small smile. She sipped it carefully. It tasted strong and sweet, unlike anything she had tried before. As the storm raged outside, Lucian began to speak. He told her stories about the old days, about kings and castles and forgotten lands. His voice was deep, and Anya could not stop listening. She felt like she was in a dream. When the storm stopped, Anya stood to leave, but Lucian stopped her. "It is late. The forest is dangerous at night. Stay here until morning." Anya wanted to go home, but something about his voice made her stay. She nodded, and he led her to a room with a soft bed. "Good night, Anya," he said, and closed the door. That night, Anya had strange dreams. She walked through the manor's halls, but they were endless. She opened a door and saw Lucian standing in the moonlight. His eyes glowed, and his smile was sharp, like a wolf's. When she woke up, the sun was shining, but the dream stayed with her. Days passed, but Anya couldn't stop thinking about Lucian. She told herself it was just curiosity. One day she went back to the manor. Lucian seemed surprised to see her, but he welcomed her inside. "Why have you come back?" he asked. "I wanted to thank you," she said. But as they talked, she stayed longer and longer. They began to meet often. Lucian told her more stories about the world outside the village, about art, music, and the stars. Anya told him about her family, the village, and her dreams. They became friends, but something about Lucian stayed mysterious. He always seemed sad, as if carrying a heavy secret. One day, as they walked in the garden, Anya asked, "Why do you live here alone? You have everything, money, a big house. But you are lonely." Lucian stopped and looked at her. "Some people," he said softly, "are dangerous to others. I am one of those people." "What do you mean?" she asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he touched her hand. His fingers were cold, like ice. "You are brave, Anya," he said. "But you should not come back here. It is better for you." Anya's heart ached, but she saw the sadness in his eyes. She left the manor that day, but she couldn't forget him. One night, when the moon was bright, Anya went back to the manor. The door opened before she knocked. Lucian stood there, his face full of worry. "I told you not to come back," he said. "I had to," Anya said. "I don't care what you're hiding, I care about you." Lucian sighed. "You don't understand," he said. "If you knew the truth, you would run away." "Then tell me," she said. "Let me decide." Lucian turned and walked to the balcony. Anya followed. The moonlight made his pale skin glow. "I am not like you," he said. "I am a vampire. I live forever, but I must drink blood to survive. That is why I stay away from people. I don't want to hurt them." Anya froze. Her heart pounded, but she didn't run. "You've never hurt me," she said quietly. "You are kind." Lucian shook his head. "It is a constant battle," he said. "I fight the hunger every day. You are special to me, Anya, but being near me is dangerous." Anya thought for a long moment. "I am not afraid," she said. "I see your heart, not your curse." Lucian looked at her with hope and pain in his eyes. "You are brave," he said again. "If you stay, you must understand the risks." "I understand," Anya said. "I want to stay." For the first time in centuries, Lucian smiled, truly smiled. He took her hand, his touch still cold but gentle. Together, they stood on the balcony, looking out at the quiet village below. They knew the path ahead would be hard, but they were not alone anymore.